Hello, everybody. I'm just out of interest. Who at the moment is running some kind of branded content YouTube channel? Okay, awesome. And out of interest, how many of you are like agency side? Show of hands. And brand side? Any brands in the room? Couple brands? Awesome. Okay, well, so I know like to a lot of people, especially leadership outside of the room, they look to measure the success of their content by the kind of headline stats that we all see, right? So viewers, subscribers. In the podcast space, we think about the download as like the key metric. And there was a time that meant something, and it's not that they don't matter anymore at all, but it's that the context has changed. And so if you're thinking about your content one video at a time, just waiting for something to pop off, you're actually working against yourself. So, as you know, we're in this sort of revolutionary period of the internet where AI is pushing everyone to be more authentic, to niche down, to prove their humanity, because we know that if you're not, we're not certainly not going to beat the computers at the game of quantity. So yeah, you're never going to win a numbers game. We have to sort of prove our humanity in other ways and connect with people, because that's, you know, the realism is what people are gravitating towards. Although there is the other thing that, you know, the connection between the content we're creating and the way that we're served inside of LLMs, that's a whole other rabbit hole that we won't go down right now, but that's a huge kind of part of what's going on. But content marketing is the way to address all of these things that we've just talked about. And so what we're going to understand, I think one of the biggest blockers that most people have is, what are the stats on my YouTube analytics dashboard telling me? What do they mean? And how do I address my content how do I use that data in a useful way to be proactive about the way I grow my channel? So to join me are two people that know a lot more about this than I do. Jamie, right here, Jamie Whiffen, is a YouTube strategist that has worked with huge creators like Ali Abdaal and many others. And Jackie is so my script has been truncated, which is rather peculiar. But anyway, Jackie is a growth marketer at Lower Street. I know this one because she works with me. And she's basically put together the framework that we're going to go through together today. So she's spent a lot of time nerding out on YouTube, and hopefully we'll find some useful insights from it. Okay, so Jamie, let's start off with, if our content is underperforming, is it because our content sucks? Or if not, why aren't we being picked up by the algorithm?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I think a lot of people who get started with YouTube kind of get very frustrated with it, because they never really know, is it the content? Is it that my channel has been blacklisted or something like that, when usually that's never the case? I think one of the things that I would love to clear up straight away for a lot of people is that YouTube doesn't look at your channel as a channel. It looks at your channel through each individual video, which is why you can see some videos that do really well for you and you think, you know, we finally cracked the code, the YouTube algorithm gods have blessed us, the next video is gonna explode again. And then it's like 200 views. And you're like, well, I don't understand this game, right? One video we're doing well, then we're not. What's happening there? And a lot of times it's not because the content is bad. It could have been that your title and thumbnail wasn't good, or the topic wasn't good, or the editing and the hook wasn't strong enough. There are a lot of different things that you will be able to identify within your YouTube analytics on a video by video basis, a case by case basis, that will actually allow you to interpret it, learn from it, and actually improve each video over the course of the long term, right? YouTube is an iterative game. And I think that's just something I want to sort of clear up, because you need to understand that before you can move into like really understanding the data. Yep. And kind of building out your content strategy.
Yeah. So looking at the data and understanding it sounds like this big, amorphous, hard to understand thing and kind of intimidating. And so what we've spent a lot of time doing is trying to figure out what are the ingredients that go into a successful video and a successful channel. And so we've come up with, or Jackie has come up with, I'm not taking any credit for it, the ARC framework. So Jackie, can you tell us what the ARC framework is, please?
Yeah, I'll give you the credit for naming it because I just did the writing part of it. But yeah, it's basically there's a huge rabbit hole, or tons of rabbit holes that you can get lost in on YouTube analytics, and also a lot of different things that could mean a lot of different things, especially in the context of what something else means. And I found that a lot of the clients that we work with get super confused about what things mean. They don't know what to do. They don't understand where the problems are. So this is basically, here's the things that you need to look at, but also it's from that, like when we're talking about how people are looking at things on like individual video basis, or not thinking about how the entire channel compounds. You're looking at those individual stats. This creates the 3 layers, which is, at that video level, is your content good enough, basically, to get people to actually care about it? And then it's here's the information that you need to do, or you need to look at to figure out if that can grow or if it is growing. And then the third thing is, okay, now what are the actual results? Like, what's the reason that I built this in the first place? So there's the 3 layers. There is attention. That's, are people clicking in? And then once they click in, are they staying? Then there's the next one, R, which I want to say B because it's A, R, C, but return is R, which is, are people coming back afterwards? So did you deliver the value and they came back? And that is actually, we'll talk about it, but like the most important thing that we'll talk about. And then the last thing is convert. So that's when you can start measuring if they actually, what you were creating was effective.
Cool. So attention, return, convert. These are the 3 layers. And the reason that this is helpful, I think, is that it gives you a kind of sequential process to go through each time you're reviewing your videos to be able to identify and articulate what's going on and why. So the first layer is attention. And like you said, this is kind of like one of the most important, certainly it's the most important it's the first most important layer, right? Once they click, are they sticking around? So a lot of teams are obsessed with, like I said before, views and subscribers and all this sort of stuff, but these are downstream of whether the platform is showing your content to anybody at all. And so why don't you explain to us the attention layer? How does that broken down? Where do we start? Where do we look? What does it mean?
Yeah, so the attention part is, like I said, it's like when people are actually seeing your content and then clicking in on it and then staying. So that's like the 3 sections to the attention layer. So are they clicking what you're looking, or sorry, are they getting it in the first place or seeing it in the first place? That's when you look at impressions. And that's the first time where you're going to look at impressions. And you'll see if YouTube is actually deciding that it should be pushed to people or whatnot. Then you can then determine, okay, are they clicking in once they've seen that? That's when you look at click-through rate. The click-through rate thing we could talk about, there's like so much nuance there, but you never want to look at click-through rate in like isolated. And then the third part of it is, are they staying? So that's when we start talking about retention for the video, and that is that part is the most important for how it's going to impact the overall channel. So the 3 stats in this part of it are on an individual video basis, the impressions, click-through rate, and then retention.
Yep. So, okay, so Jamie, you've seen a ton of YouTube channels. We've talked about Ali Abdaal, but you work with Brian Johnson, like loads of big brands that are kind of doing really well with their YouTube content. What information is YouTube using for that initial impressions push, and how does it work?
Yeah, it's a good question, because when you first upload your YouTube video, the way that YouTube basically figures out who to show your videos to is it initially tests it out with your subscribers, right? These are the people who've already clicked the button and said, I want to see more of this. They'll always show it to your subscribers first, as well as anyone who's basically classified as a returning viewer. That just means anyone who's watched your content before. They might not have hit subscribe, but they have seen you before. And the whole purpose there is to see, are these individuals clicking on the homepage? And if they are, how long are they sticking around for, right? Your average view duration. Is it super high? Or is it that you have really good packaging and it's getting people to click, and then the content's not great, you don't really stick around? YouTube's going to make the decision of like, oh, if the core audience, the fans of this channel, aren't really liking this content, why should we even be pushing it out to like a lukewarm or a cold audience? And that's where you kind of will see in your YouTube analytics, you get this kind of views take off and then it flatlines pretty quickly. That's what's happened there. And the inverse of that is when you have the videos that really take off, it's because your core audience loved it. They were clicking, they were watching. YouTube said, let's show it to more of the core audience and see if they liked it, and they did. And you have this flywheel start to happen. And that's how you can go from like your core audience to a casual audience, right, out to new viewers and really kind of blow up
And so then what does a low click-through rate, what does that mean? I guess what doesn't it mean?
Yeah, I think this is a good question because I worked with like small creators all the way up to the biggest in the world, and a lot of people get hung up on click-through rate. I think it's a very messy metric to look at in isolation, and I could speak for an entire hour about click-through rate. So I'll kind of like give you the myth-busting approach so you don't make the same mistakes that a lot of people do. Is click-through rate changes a lot depending on how good your video actually is. Because if you have a really good video, YouTube's gonna push it to that cold audience, which means you have way more impressions, but as a result of going to a cold audience, people are less likely to click on it because they might not recognize your face in the thumbnail. And so then your click-through rate starts to go down, right? Whereas if you're someone who's going, oh, our benchmark is always 13% click-through rate, that means it's a good video or a bad video. It's not the case, right? So I've worked on videos that have got 9 million plus views. The click-through rate is like 1.7%. Right, which by most definitions would be like terrible click-through rate. But that's because we had hundreds of millions of impressions on all of those videos. And so try not to get too hung up on like, we have to hit this certain benchmark. It's more so like the metric you should really be studying is like returning viewers. It's the one I always get people to study because that actually shows you're building a community and people are genuinely coming back and it means you're doing something right.
Yeah, so we'll get to that. That's an important metric we're gonna get to. But Jackie, from a content perspective, because those early signals do matter with our subscribers, is the click-through rate. What does that tell us? But most importantly, Jamie's answered that question, but what does that mean from a content perspective? What do we do with that information?
Yeah, so I would say first thing is like, don't judge your thumbnails based on the click-through rate alone. Like you can judge it based on the click-through rate in ratio to how other videos with similar impression performance or something have done. But like, that's the first thing for content. You're not looking to change your thumbnail based on that. The thing that is important for your stats for creating that like return behavior is and telling YouTube to continue to push it out to more people in the first place is getting people to stay past that first 30 seconds. So your retention is going to be the thing that once you've actually got people to see your content on YouTube, click into it, then stay, that retention is what's going to determine whether or not YouTube is going to push it to more people or not. So you can't just like get people, that's why it's like clickbait, you get people in, that's, whatever. That's not going to do anything for you. You need to actually deliver on it, which is why you do things like you strategically write your intros. So you make sure that people can actually stay. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that. But yeah, that's why that one's so important from a content. I will just give you like a couple. Immediately confirm the value once people have clicked in. Like you want the thing that they've clicked in for to be the thing that they get because that's why you got them, right? So that first 30 seconds, you want to confirm that. You want to get them to understand exactly what they're going to expect as soon as possible, and that includes the stakes of like why this is important that they say that, or like they know this stuff, sorry. Those are like, and the value that you're going to be giving them, but then the stakes as to why, and then the proof of like who you are. Those are like the first things that you need to do basically within 30 seconds or 60 if you're extending it a little bit, what an intro means.
If I clicked on a thumbnail on a title that says how to fix a carburetor, you need to know within the first 30 seconds, like I am going to be told.
Yeah, because if I click in and then you're not doing that, and then I click out, I'm telling YouTube, actually, this video isn't worth pushing because it lied to me or something, or it wasn't a good video, right? So therefore, it's gonna. So if you get people clicking in and then clicking out, that's. It doesn't even matter if you have like more impressions because you made it clickbait. If that increase of people that are clicking in are leaving, then all the other people who did stay, it's just like overwhelming that stat too. So that's a really important thing, is to make sure your first 30-second conversion is like solid.
Awesome. And by the way, we've got all of this in a much more detailed version that you can get from our website, which should be linked to on the screen, but it isn't. So I don't know how we're going to deal with that. There should be some slides, but anyway, we'll talk about that later. So, interest of time, I'm going to move on. So we've got the attention. We've got our thumbnails and our titles right. People are clicking through. They're sticking around for those first 2 minutes. These are sending positive signals to YouTube. We then move to what we've called the R section, the return part of the framework, and this is kind of really the growth layer. So it's the individual video level is about foundation. So reading that your content is actually resonating and is able to build an audience. So now we look at the signals that show if your video is actually growing. So this is what people used to look at subscribers for, but that's not what's important today, or at least that's not we believe is important today. It all comes down to arguably the most important analytic that we'll talk about in this session, and that's returning viewers. Jamie, you hinted at it a little bit earlier. So, Jackie, first of all, can you just break down the R layer of the kind of arc?
Yeah.
thing?
So again, like that first layer is what's telling you that your content is good enough to be able to grow an audience. So if you are getting the good signals on those, then that means that, okay, if there's something broken, it's not that the content isn't resonating. So this is the return one. So return now means that you need to actually deliver on the thing. Like once you got people to stay and you push out that video, you need to deliver on that content so that they do come back. But return is going to be broken down to, like did they stay? Did they come back? And also, are they engaging with your...
When you say come back, do you mean like to other videos on your channel? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Or like watch the same video again?
No, well, if they get pushed a new video, so once they've watched a video and they were engaged with it, then you're likely, maybe your next video is going to show up on their homepage. So it's like those people, did they click back into it? Because you don't need to subscribe to something. I think we all know that as YouTube users, you don't need to subscribe to something to be pushed the content now. In fact, a lot of the things you subscribe to, you don't even see anymore. Right, so those that's why those people are the most important, because they're the ones who are actually seeing your content because they're actively engaging with it. So yeah, it's the three things for this one are they coming back? So that's your returning viewer rate. Then is the algorithm working? And so that's when you can look at traffic sources. And then are people engaging? And this is kind of when you start to look at comments. But I'll let you.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So Jamie, like break this down for us a bit. How do we calculate how does YouTube calculate the returning viewer rate? And what is that in terms of a signal for distribution?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a really actionable way to figure out if you're actually growing with your YouTube channel. If you go into your analytics tab, you have the audience tab. If you click in there, there is a whole area dedicated to new and returning viewers. I personally love to look at this over a 90-day time frame, because this will show me if we're actually growing or not. Because a lot of times people just look at the views. So let's say you're getting 10,000 views every single video. You might be like, hey, that's pretty good. We got 10,000 people watching. But if you then went and looked at your returning viewers and it was only 1,000 people or across the board, it means that there are 9,000 people per video who are watching for the first time.
You're starting from scratch every single
video.
video.
And it's like you might be doing really good at getting people sort of the attention where they click. But as Jackie said, if they're not they're not being retained, they're not being entertained by you, they're churning. And so what you want to be looking at is like, you obviously need new viewers to grow. You need new eyeballs. But you have to think about it like a snowball going down a hill, right? You need those returning viewers to build up. That's your core audience. That's your community. And if you have sort of this leaky bucket, this revolving door of people coming and going, you're going to struggle to grow. And if you can just solve that problem of why are people not sticking around and how can we get them to come back as often as possible, you actually will start to get some traction on YouTube. And it's really the whole game. And it's kind of like what I spend all my time with my clients on. Is like, how can we get people to click on our videos, enjoy them, come back and binge watch, or get ready for the next video when we upload it?
Totally. So Jackie, how do we make someone come back?
Well, I'll just give it like a quick note thing. Everybody thinks that their value or the information that you're giving is the important part, and that is, and you want to deliver on that, and you want to make it memorable and as memorable as possible. But you also need to remember that the way that you deliver that value is the most important thing, because at the end of the day, like YouTube is an entertainment platform, right? So there's different strategies that you can do for writing, for like leaving open loops, always have open loops, and then like making sure you have proper story arcs, and proper teases, but also your personality, your delivery, your unique delivery is what's actually going to get people to connect with you and stay.
Cool. So just be talented. Got it.
Exactly.
Jamie, what do we learn from the traffic source? This is a stat I know basically nothing about. What does traffic source mean? What do we learn from it?
Yeah, so this is a good one. So everyone always talks about the YouTube algorithm, right? Like it's this one thing. There are actually multiple algorithms on YouTube. There is one for the homepage called browse. There is one for search. There is one for suggested. And so depending on how your video is performing in each of those different traffic sources, YouTube will prioritize it, because some videos do better on traffic with a traffic source of search than browse. So to give you a non-podcasting example, because it's easiest, if I was driving in my car down the road, my tire sort of pops, I don't know how to change the tire, I'm going to go to YouTube and type in, how do I change a tire, right? So a video like that is going to have super high traffic from search, because I'm in a solution mode, right? Sure. I want to kind of watch a video that's going to solve my problem. If I was at home on a random Tuesday night and, I want to watch something fun and how to change a tire appears on my homepage, I'm not going to click on that, right? Because I'm not in the mood to watch it.
Speak for yourself.
And so you have to think a lot about like, what is this video that I'm making? How am I packaging it? Where am I likely going to find the right amount of viewers? Especially if you are trying to attract search, you need to go and find out how many people on a monthly basis are searching for this. Because if you want 1 million views, but only 20,000 people per month are searching for it, you're gonna have to wait a long time.
Yeah. So, okay, so traffic sources it's like traffic arriving at on our specific video, and whether it's come from search or recommendation or whatever.
Yeah, and can I just add to that too? Like the thing you want, if you're looking at trying to like actually have like a compounding growth in the algorithm, then you do want to look at the browse and like suggested. That's the thing that's telling you that YouTube is suggesting the video, obviously based on the name.
Yeah.
If you have like an overwhelming amount of external views, and like you could still have great stats, and maybe that's great, but they're coming from other places, or it's paid ads or something, then that isn't showing you that the algorithm itself is compounding. It could be a different strategy, but that's okay. But if you're looking for, is this compounding, you want to look at the browse and suggested.
Yeah.
Comments, Jackie. What are we looking for in the comments?
So like
This
I said,
is like my favorite / least favorite part of YouTube.
I love looking through the comments and replying, and then like replying with like really dumb jokes. No, the thing with this one is that you want people, again, like you're trying to essentially build a community, right? Like you can't lie or like when you get people to click in or something and you get a bunch of views, like all those things are vanity. You can't lie to the algorithm if people actually care about or engaging in your content. And also, at the end of the day, it's not about getting views, it's about what the impact on whatever your goal is for your business or your brand. So the comments is the way that you create that relationship, because YouTube is great because it has that community built into it where people want to comment. You comment something and then people respond to it, then they get the idea that, hey, this is a place that where we can talk and we're going to get the reaction that we want or the answers that we want or whatever. And then it tells YouTube that people care. And then what you also want to look for are the people who keep coming back, because you will find that you get like, there's usually like 2 or 3 commenters, and I've had it on every single channel I've ever done, where they're the first person on every video and they just say first. And as soon as you get a first person, then you got a growing community. But yeah, you're looking for the people coming back and making sure that they're having conversations.
Yeah, and that's what I mean about the favorite part. Like it's the least favorite because you cop it. I mean, if anyone that's putting YouTube on content on YouTube, you know that you can cop some shit, but it's also like fun. Like when you feel like people are actually showing up because they care, like they're excited to post first. Like that's pretty fun. So okay, I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to move on. We're going to talk about the third layer. So we've talked about, are we getting the attention? Are we keeping them sticking around? That's a first initial sign to YouTube. Then are we getting people to return? Are they coming and looking at different videos of ours week after week or video after video? That's another sign to YouTube, hey, we should show this to more people. Then we think, okay, we're thinking about this from a business perspective. So how do we then convert? If we're a brand, what do we do with that traffic that we've got? So this is the layer that tells you whether your content is generating pipeline, accelerating deals, building authority, bringing inbound basically, or helping brand sentiment. Like for larger enterprise companies, particularly in B2B, what we care about is not necessarily like selling widgets today. It's like, do people like us more? And so, whatever that larger goal is for you. But this is why those first 2 layers are so important, because if layer C numbers are disappointing and you haven't confirmed that layer A and layer R, the first, attention and return, you haven't confirmed that they're healthy first, then you're not getting the full story and you're sort of, making decisions. Because I've seen a lot of people cut channels or launch entirely fresh ideas because like, oh, well, the numbers aren't where we're not getting enough signups, so I guess it must not be working. But like, you need to go back and understand why the content's not performing first. So you might have a content problem or a tracking problem, or maybe just a patience problem, but you need to know which one of those before you draw any conclusions. So Jackie, first explain to us the C section of our ARC framework.
Yeah, so we got conversion. So the thing with this one too is that if you start looking at these stats before you look at those first 2 layers, you're looking at the stats of like not potentially not a bad effort, but like potentially a bad foundation. So that's why if you look at this last and you're not seeing if the algorithm or the YouTube, like the way the community isn't building, if that's not working, then you can't really accurately judge this layer. But this could be a lot of different things for a lot of different brands, and a lot of the shows that I've worked on have had like completely different strategies, and you can kind of alter everything around that. But you can do, obviously you have like inbound, you can pin comments with your, if you have like, we've been doing templates with some of our things. If we create something that we think is useful, we make a video about it. It's like, okay, well, we'll put it as a template, and then people can go find it and download it, and then that's our metric. But there's like, this one is like more difficult because it's just, what's the reason that you're creating this in the first place? And then once you know that, you can kind of alter everything before. But that's why it's just so important to do the first couple things, like check the first 2 layers before you go to this one and then determine, oh, it's not working. Yeah.
Sure. Jamie, do you have clients with goals where they'd be looking at these signals in different ways?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends, I think, on who you're making content for and what you're selling to them. You know, if you're selling something that's pretty high ticket and expensive, you don't need as many viewers. So I know some people are getting like 10,000 views per video, but they make a lot of money. And then I know the inverse, people get millions of views, but they're selling something that's, you know, like $99 or something like that. It's hard for them to make money.
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, like tracking your links and conversions, depending on like on a video by video basis, not just one standard link in your descriptions, super important, because then you can say, oh, we need to double down on these types of videos, which might be getting us less views, but actually get us closer to our goal of conversion. And, you know, there's loads of different ways that you can convert with your content on YouTube in sort of like your CTAs within the video itself, the pinned comment, the top line in the description. But it depends like who you are and what you're creating content for. It changes on a channel by channel basis.
I'll say the Moneywise was a show we did for Hampton, and they are a community, and their whole thing was like building their own paid community, right? And so the conversion for that isn't people are going to watch a video and then click and then whatever, they subscribe or something, or not subscribe, sorry, they check out or whatever it is for your business. That's like a nurture, like that's like I want to continue to create that returning viewer behavior so that I can then make them want to join the paid part of the community, right?
Right, and that's a really good example of an audience that isn't enormous. Like I guess 50-60,000 views per video was like one of the better performing ones, but they had many videos that were in the sort of low single-digit thousands. But the people that showed up, the people that were typing first, you know, were like the actual intended audience, and so.
Yeah, we wanted to see an abundance of returning viewers. Like sometimes
Exactly.
you want more new viewers because
it's
obviously
a small
you want
community. In this case, they wanted like high net worth individuals, and so those are like difficult people to reach and hard to pin down. And if you can see the same people coming back time and again, and they're commenting things like, "Oh yeah, my private jet is like it's a real pain in the ass when I'm managing like the tax with it or something," it's like, yeah. Relatable problem, bro. But that's what we wanted. We wanted those people because those are the people that were going to convert to the community. So that was really important.
Yeah, YouTube doesn't need to push it out. Like one of the things that's great about the algorithm is that it will continue to find new audiences for you, right? But something like that, they have a very, very defined person, so they're not looking for that kind of same compounding growth. They're just looking at how do I keep this consistently engaging.
Yeah. So, you know, I think a lot of times, or I could talk about. Do you know what? We've got 5 minutes left. I don't know how tight we are on time because there's not another session afterwards, but I feel like we've had to rush through this really fast. We have a much more thorough sort of write-up of this, and if that's of interest to you, then I guess we don't have the slide up there with the QR code, so you can kind of find me on LinkedIn. I'm Harry Morton. Say hello there, and I can send you a copy of this thing. It's a PDF. We'll just send it straight away. Because we could have talked here for
to us like right after.
Yeah, or just come and talk to us. We could have talked about this for an hour and a half. There's so much we've had to go through it extremely quickly.